What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show, guys. Today, of course, thank you very much for joining me on another episode of Watch Talk with the Cardinal. I just want to go through a couple of the chats. Unfortunately, some of them disappeared. I know Joseph and the Real Cars and Chrono were here earlier. We got a lot of familiar faces as always. We got Paul M, Jesse Davis, Dangerous Wife, reminding everybody to upvote. Mr. M asking any updates on Stefano. Listen, we're just praying for a swift and quick recovery for him, and he's going to be okay. He's got the heart of a lion, a warrior, and I have no question that he's going to be more than all right. We got Marcus Malone. Thank you very much for joining me. He said it might be better to move the stream past 11 p.m. I don't think so. I think I'm going to stream when I want to stream. We got David H. And he's reminding everybody again to hit that like button. Please do upvote, guys. We got the legend himself, Duco Ted, the legend, the absolute legend, man. Thank you so much, you legend. You legend. What a legend. What an absolute legend. Duco Ted with the $5 saying, all early super chats get legend status instantly. That's right, guys. Legend. Duco Ted is a legend, guys. Legend. Absolute legend. JC with the upvote, guys. Thank you very much. And we got Mr. M reminding everybody to upvote. Marcus Malone, Mark P. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. We got Wings and Watches, Marty Evans, Danger Will Robinson. We got David H saying, I know something that pisses them off more. Yeah, just upvote that. That'll help. Daniel Katz says, touch base with Tim Mosso sometimes, maybe interview. Way to show you could go neck and neck with his know-how and get a few tips thrown your way from him in the meantime. That'd be interesting, but I doubt he would want to do an interview with little me. That would be very, very improbable. We got Jay Giddy. Danger Will Robinson says, my money's on Mosso losing his shit and throwing chairs. I don't think so. We got Pearl, DC and LV, Chronos Keeper, Small GI. We got that's Jay Giddy saying, that's right. You stream when you want. That's right. Hello, newbie watch guy. Andrew T. And we got Peruka. Thank you for joining. And we got Tim with the $5 saying, I need legend status as well. Let me drop the link. I'm going to drop the link for all the legends. We got the legend, absolute legend, Tim Wright. Absolute legend. What a legendary figure in the community, guys. Legend. But today I wanted to talk about VC, Vacheron Constantin. We have a couple of viewers, the legends, Ali and Teodemo. Okay, I got to stop this. This is getting cringy. We got Ali and Teodemo, who both just picked up one VC each, but two very distinct VCs. One obviously being a sports in the dual time, and one, of course, in the more dressy kind of side with Teodemo being the Historiques 1942. My question for today is Vacheron the fastest growing brand? And obviously I don't mean, kind of from a standpoint of historically, right? Because they are the oldest continuous watch brand in the world. But I mean, hey, what can I say? I think that there's a very, very good chance that VC is going to be that next brand up. And we got the Wristwatch Jesus joining us. How are you, my man?
Hey, how are you, man?
All is well. Thank you for asking. We got David H, the legend himself, with a $5 super chat. I also just want to give a shout out to David. Thank you very much for the support. Appreciate, obviously, you know what you did. I don't need to call it out, but I appreciate your support, obviously, to channel and to myself. Always greatly appreciated. But yeah, Wristwatch Jesus, tonight's show, I wanted to talk a little bit about my favorite brand, which is Vacheron Constantin. The third brother, I guess, one of the three horses of the Holy Trinity, and my personal favorite of the Trinity, my favorite brand overall. And I think, listen, you see it in the community, more people getting interested in Vacheron. I think it also reflects in their retail sales as well. I think a lot more people are getting interested with the brand itself. And overall, man, I'm telling you, I think VC is one to look out for in the next couple of years. What do you think, man?
I mean, I totally agree, but we have to make the distinction. We have to make the distinction between VC as the traditional brand and VC as the upcoming sports watching brand, you know?
Interesting. That's what we will get into. But yeah. I think there is a world where they can coexist, but we will get into that. Yeah, exactly. We got Muhammad Ali with the £4.50. Thank you very much. He says it's 1:30 a.m. and time for me to sleep, but I wanted to wish you all the best for tonight's stream, and I'll watch it in the morning. No worries. I appreciate the support and the kind words. But yes, I think that's a great point. And Muhammad, thank you very much again for the super chat. Greatly appreciated your contribution to the channel. And yeah, so this is one thing I guess that VC has that is becoming more popular kind of with social media and popular culture. But one thing that it does have for them is I don't see anybody icing out in overseas anytime soon, right? So I think in that sense, VC is still kind of safe, and it's still a brand that, you know, the traditional watch enthusiasts can go towards and really appreciate and like from that standpoint, because it's not going to be overbearingly hyped up by social media and rappers and popular culture. Now, as I mentioned, I think that there's a world where both of the sports watches and dress watches can coexist, and that is with Toyota Mo, for example, collector like Mo, right? So his collection, he's tried other watches, but it's mostly all Rolex, right? And now he bought this dress watch from VC, right? He might also look into the overseas as a result. So you can get pockets where collectors start off in their sports watch and get into the dress watches, and then vice versa, get into the dress watches and go to the sports watch. So I think that's how the two can ultimately coexist.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Yeah. So I just want to call up this super chat. Thank you very much to Perth Luxury with the $2 saying 24/7, 365 Rebels retreating. Toilet break, please. Ban plastic. He's not in the chat. I don't know if he's in the chat, but if he is, mods, you guys know what to do. You guys know what to do. But I appreciate the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. David H saying the overseas are nice, but I'm more drawn to the traditional side of the brand. I imagine they can be successful in both arenas. So yeah, one aspect that, let me bring up their website itself, right? So I think they shine in a couple of areas, right? The first, in my opinion, being, I would say personally, is the Histories collection. The Histories collection, which are kind of re-editions of their, you know, some of their more popular models in history, is really where they knock it out of the park. I think there's really nothing I can criticize from this entire range, be it the Coron de Vache, the 1942, the 1921, or of course the Ultra Thin. Listen, the Ultra Thin isn't my favorite, but I understand why they make it, right? I don't know what you think about the Histories collection, but I think they really knocked it out of the park.
I think they are perfect watches, all of them. They are, as you said, they took the very best and they made it a little fresh, you know, a little re-edition. And
they modernized the case movement, style of the watch,
but
the font.
Still keeping, you know, that very Vacheron aesthetic, you know. You see it, you know exactly, oh my God, that is so Vacheron, you know.
Exactly. It was very distinct. The curvatures of the case, the lugs themselves, they're very distinct in their own style. And of course, I think their dials are also very distinct. We got Wings and Watches with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. It says, keep up the awesome work, Marco. I'm just getting some studying done. Might join you in a bit. Hello to everyone. No worries, man. Of course. Your personal life is always more important. I just want to bring up another range that I feel they really do well in, and that is the Traditional. The Traditional to me is, it's kind of their more classic dress watch range, but I think it really showcases, in my opinion, the mastery of Vacheron Constantin. So I'll go into kind of the more basic models. So my favorites are, this one right here is probably my favorite. So it's the 38 millimeter Traditional. But one thing that's interesting is it's the boutique edition with this kind of guilloche pattern. Yeah. I think this is really phenomenal. And super thin case, manual wind, Geneva seal case and movement. It's gorgeous. And then they also are, in my opinion, masters of kind of ultra thin complications, and they kind of showcase it in this range as well. So you will have, for example, ultra thin complete calendars, ultra thin perpetuals, ultra thin, here they are, ultra thin minute repeaters as well. And this is also part of their patrimony range, right? They will also do it for the patrimony range. And this one in particular was really Vacheron flexing their muscles, in my opinion. This is a twin beat perpetual calendar with a 65-day power reserve, right? I mean, you saw, I don't know if you've seen the Longo with a 31-day power reserve, but that thing is like like a brick,
it's
right?
Gigantic,
This is at least still very wearable. Right. Yeah, this is at least still
this is absolutely awesome. This is a beautiful watch. I mean, it even won the GPHD award. I think it was last year.
Right.
GPHD award in best innovative complication.
Right. It's insane to have two. So the way it works, right, is there's two kind of different escapements, right? One
Yeah.
operates at 5 hertz and one at 1.2 hertz. And the point is when you're not wearing it, you set it to 1.2 hertz. The reason being is that so that it keeps obviously the time, and then it's a perpetual calendar. This way you won't have to reset it, and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So,
and it can keep power up to 65 days.
Right, which is absolutely nuts.
Crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
It's crazy.
We got a question here from Angie saying VC a stepping stone to Patek. I don't think so. I mean, they're a horseman in the Holy Trinity. You know what I mean? So I just don't see how they would be a stepping stone if they're part of the same kind of illustrious group as Patek is.
I think in like a traditional horology point of view, they always have been neck and neck, Patek and VC. They always both have been on top.
Right. Now, one thing that was interesting that was brought to my attention, it was a question that was asked, was, is VC the master of ultra-thin complications? I don't know what you think about that. I don't think so.
I mean, they are master in ultra-thin, that is no question.
Yeah.
But, for example, AP is doing some big advancement in the ultra thin. They did the ultra thin perpetual calendar, royal oak in white gold.
So price on this is
look at VC. VC, their overseas perpetual calendar skeleton, ultra thin. Look how thin it is.
Right.
It is an absolute beast.
Right.
The same from Lange would be twice as thick, as you said before.
Right. I think there's a couple brands that you can definitely point to as being kind of the masters of ultra thin. I think VC is certainly one of them. I think as well, what's it called? JLC is one of them, because they were really the masters of ultra thin, I think, back in the day, right? So at least the 70s, 80s, when most watch brands were using their movements and using their calibers. And I think by modern standards, although I will be honest, I don't see them as there's kind of two. I would say it's Piaget and Bulgari. But the problem is that computers have really allowed you to kind of innovate in a way that you're able to make these extremely thin calibers. And it's not really, the ingenuity of the brand because they have amazing watchmakers working for them. It's more so, the development of computers and technology that allows them to do that. And for example, in the 90s, Vacheron released the thinnest at the time minute repeater caliber. It was the caliber 1755 that was a little over 3 millimeters thick, right? And that's in the 90s. There's no computers back then. I just want to get this question very quickly. We got a question, Grand Seiko SLGA 007. Let me pull this up. Oh, interesting. Let me ask. I actually don't know much about this piece, to be fair. Is this kind of their other model of the white birch? It's like a blue dial white birch.
Can you pull it up?
Yeah. Oh, it's a spring drive movement. Oh, but with no power reserve. I like this, actually.
Yeah, good.
This is very interesting. You know what?
I never really liked the
What's the price on this? Interesting. Let me look at the price. Hold on one second. Let me look at the price. This is the movement. It's a 5-day caliber, spring drive. The price is 8,700 US. But I mean, 5-day caliber, spring drive, gray finishing on the case, movement dial. I think this is all really good. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really complain at all. No question about it. Let me just go through a couple of the viewer questions. We got Todd Levin saying, again, the VC vintage watches from the 1940s, reference 4072, 4083, the 4178. These are the real grails to me of VC chrono. So let's pull them up. So VC 4072. Oh, yeah. And this is what we were discussing yesterday, Dr. Levin, was, manual wind chronos like this from a Trinity brand, right? So someone like Vacheron or Patek, these were like really the highest member of society that were wearing these kind of watches, right? So we're talking, doctors, politicians, really the most influential people in the world. And, these are extremely important watches historically because they were so difficult to make. Oops. Good thing. 4083. A little bit more Art Deco, not my favorite. A little more Art Deco, not my favorite, but nice. Oh, we got the Jesus joining us back and the 4178.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
So these are incredible. Again, 2 register chronos from VC.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
This is beautiful.
Yeah. We got Big Sal with a $5 super chat saying, "Hey fellas, too late for legend status." What a legend. Sal, thank you very much for joining the show. He says, "VC talk, I'm all in. I prefer VC design out of the Trinity. They are timeless and modern. Great balance." Yeah, 100%. I would echo everything you say. Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah, so effectively for the the traditional collection, I have no problem. When it comes to the overseas, then I would have a few comments to make.
Okay.
This, because this is where the brand has been a bit behind. It's their sports watches. And to be honest, if we didn't have the Rolex shortage, the Patek shortage, the AP shortage, I don't know how would the overseas be doing right now. I mean, you know what I mean? So the thing is, they had, they released in the 1970s the 222.
Yeah.
Which was not a Genta design. It was designed by Jörg Heisek. Right. And I really wonder why they didn't keep the design. What do you think? What do you think would happen if they kept the 222 design?
So here's the problem, right? By today's standard, it's a little too old-fashioned, right? It just is. It needed like a more modern update, right? I like it, don't get me wrong, but I much prefer the more modern design. And it's more reminiscent of the Vacheron brand, right? With the Maltese kind of etching on the bezel. You also get an updated kind of case and movement as well. And you get the interchangeable kind of strap system. So in my opinion, I think it's much, oh my goodness, look who we have joining us. We got the watch wizard, Stefano. How are you, my man?
Hello, boys. How are you guys?
How are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm getting there.
You're hanging in there?
I had to get on and see you, Marco, because those fuckwads, oh, man. I promise. I lived through this shit Friday. I'm gonna go. It's open season on Archie, the Plastic, the Doctor, and all the rest of these fuckwads. Don't worry. No, it's not good because you don't deserve it. And I'm gonna show you how you create war against all those fikers. Don't worry. Now I gotta be home for like anywhere from 4 to 6 months, the doctor said, because they're opening up my sternum. So I'll be streaming. I'll fall asleep at the stream, wake up, and keep going with you. Don't worry.
All right.
You don't deserve it, kid.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to it. We got a super chat from Rez saying he sent me an email. I just want to pull these up very quickly. Hold on a second because they're a little all over the place. So we got this right here. It's a Vacheron Traditional chronograph, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Oh, no, it's not a chronograph. It's a date.
It's a date, yeah.
Interesting. Sorry, I looked at it quickly. I saw 2 registers, figured it was a chrono. Very, very nice. Listen, look at the guilloche on that dial. Did we get a picture of the movement? Hold on 1 second. What's the model? Let me get a picture of the. It's the 85-920. Vacheron. 85-920. That's not it. 1 second. I'll figure this out. Maybe sometime today.
We got so much
Yeah,
love for
traditional.
Stefano in the chat.
No.
Beautiful.
I just want to pull this up, the movement itself. But this is a gorgeous watch. I love that guilloche on the dial. Oh, look at the movement here. This is definitely worth it. Yeah, you got that. Oh, this is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Thunder.
Thank you very much, Rez, for the super chat. I just want to go to all the super chats because they're coming in fast and furious. We got Perth Luxury with the $5 super chat saying, I hate to admit this, Marco, but the 1942 does have a place. It is considerably cheaper than the Saxonia Auto annual calendar plus moon phase, no white gold. Exactly. Not only do you not pay precious metal premium, but you get a completely unique design, case, movement, complication as well, because it refers back to their kind of history. So it's unique to them. I think it's gorgeous. The 1942 is just absolutely stunning. Yeah, no question. But Steph, I'll come back to the watches in a little bit. I want to make sure, see how Stefano is doing. We got Duco Ted with the $5 saying, I've said a prayer for you, watch wizard. God bless, man.
Thank you.
We're definitely all pulling for you. No question about it. Thank you very much, Duco Ted. We got Big Sal with the $5 saying, wizard, get better, my man, for the game. Thank you very much. Wings and Watches with the $10 saying, love the fight. Keep it up, young man. Stefano. That's right. Keep it up. Thank you very much, Wings and Watches. And we got DC and LV with the $5 saying, I have to super chat with the wizard coming on. Good luck and get well soon. So
thank you so much.
Can I ask you, how is the conditions in the hospital with COVID and everything like that?
COVID protocols are very hard. The hospital, the Heart Institute is a surgical facility, so you're allowed to have one visitor by appointment the day before, and only 2 are allowed to register, even if you're here a month, even if you're here a week. Only 2 people are ever allowed to visit you while here. So
that's awful. We got the watch therapist saying, Mario, you keep introducing me to beautiful VC pieces, and I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, guys. We got Angie asking, Stefano, any of your nurses like watches? Do they like watches at all?
My doctor, my new surgeon I met today, he wears a subby.
Okay, actually, that it was meant to be because I'm wearing the sub day today. There we go.
Boy. Yeah,
we got Perth Luxury with the $2 saying, to destroying toilet, I regard toilet as watches apartheid. No worries, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But yeah, are you wearing a watch right now? Do you have a watch with you?
I do, and he said he has one, but not the rainbow, and he likes to wear it when he does gardening in his house.
There it is. Okay, why not? You got the guts,
right?
Right.
I said, Doc, don't worry. He goes, and he said something like, that's almost $1,000 here in town. I go, sir, you make me wake up on Friday, and this is yours.
Hey, honestly speaking, right? Like it's a surgery that has become, kind of pretty routine in that regard. So
it has gone a long way the last 15 years.
Right. So listen, we're all pulling for you. We're all pulling. But let's get your mind off this stuff.
Well, when I saw what was going on with those other idiots, and then I go, oh, my buddy's going on. I gotta go on 5 minutes. I got nothing to do. I'm in a damn private room, paying $300 a day for nothing. They put me in a room with 3 other guys, and I was like, I'm 58 and I feel like I'm 12. These are the crypt keepers. I said, in a private room, so they got me a private room.
Right. Logan Hall says, just tuning in. Hello to Stefano. That's what it's all about. Tim Denman saying, haha, God tier. That's right. David Hayes saying, Stefano's really good. Fire in the blood will do great. No question. We got Solus Art with the €5 saying, get well soon, watch wizard. That's right. We're all pulling for you. No question about it.
Thank you.
So, Stefano, what do you think? You think we should talk watches? What do you think, man?
Yeah, man. Vacheron, you're on the road.
I'm talking Vacheron, yeah. Talking Vacheron. I got this wonderful email from Rez. This is a gorgeous watch.
That's a gorgeous piece. Wow. Look at the rotor. Wow.
Yeah. The dial, actually, that he showcased had guilloche on it, so it was this one right here.
This is such a Vacheron design, This is the identity of the brand right there.
Very much so.
Yeah, no question about it. And we got the doctor himself, Todd, joining the show. Hello, Todd. How are you?
Hey, I just wanted to wish everybody some good health there. And
Yeah, no
Thank you
question
very
about
much,
it.
Todd. Thank
And we
you.
got the doctor himself. Wait, hold on. Todd, you gotta take off the YouTube stream in the background. It's okay. Todd, we tease new guests who don't know that they have to tear it off the YouTube. We call it amateur hour. Todd is on Dr. Levin's on amateur hour right now. But thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Yeah, we're just talking some background. I pulled up those chronos, Todd, that you mentioned earlier. I mean, I talked about this on my last stream, right? Because we were talking chronographs, and that they were the complication, right, for really the most important people. I mean, in the world, some of the most influential people in the world. Because for one, they couldn't really make them, at least in series, right? It was very difficult for them to make, regulate, assemble a chronograph, and particularly from Patek, VC, and kind of the upper echelon brands, it was extremely expensive for them to make it and finish it to their high standards. So chronographs are quickly becoming, some of my favorite complications. But I'd love to get your take on this.
Well, that's why those watches, both VC today that I was sending you, and particularly I think the APs on your other show or whatever a few days ago that you were talking about. You have to remember that the Great Depression in America and Europe, which started in 29, right, and went well through the 30s for the most part. In fact, people think that the Great Depression, was a couple of years. It was like a 10-year situation. And then, the war and the rise of fascism and everything that was going on in Europe. So these European watchmakers, for the most part, didn't have the materials in many cases to produce any of this in large numbers. And in most cases, these sort of things didn't sell. I think there was only one store in New York where you could walk in and actually buy like an AP or a VC during the 1940s. And it was always a special order every time. So you had to go in and tell them what you wanted. And then if you wanted a chronograph, fundamentally, they were making a piece unique for you. It might have been based on other watches that they had made, which they could kind of show you dim images of, and then they could help you customize it as to sort of what color dial or what kind of metal, or how did you want the layout of the particular subdials to be, and what would the the particulars of those subdials be. But basically, these are almost always piece uniques, and that's what makes them so special. Finding a really good condition, not too mucked with VC or AP chrono from the forget the 1930s, but the 1940s and even into the 1950s to a certain extent. But then things got busier for them and they started to produce in lines and in larger numbers. You're buying if you can find one in good condition, you're buying an extremely rare, covetable watch. And in many cases, for a long time, the prices of these pieces were, I can't say that they were like cheap, but they were very affordable compared to the crazy prices that people pay for far less distinguished watches like a Nautilus or an AP Royal Oak of one type or another, whether it's a 15202 or a much more offshore, something like that. But they wouldn't pay nearly that price, let's say, for an AP chrono from the 1940s, which is basically a one of one and a much more complicated watch to boot. And I think better designed from my point of view, just in terms of aesthetics. I like the AP and I like the Nautilus, but I don't like them as much, I guess, as other people seem to like them. I love Gensha, but
we love his contribution, not necessarily his watches.
Yeah, I love his contribution. I think the guy's an animal horologist. But the other thing with those watches is I'm not personally keen on automatics. I like manual watches. I like engaging with my watch every day. I like taking my watch and winding it by hand and having that kind of, interaction.
Sensual interaction, yeah.
That means a lot to me. And so given a choice, I would always prefer to buy a manual wind than an automatic. So I pretty much stayed away from them with one exception, which I didn't have a choice. It had to be an automatic, and that was that, and that's all it could be. But, Yeah, I think that these chronos for me from the 40s, while I admire the technical complexity of how thin can you make it and how complex can you make it and how many complications can you throw in the case that's ultra thin and made out of all these amazing rare materials like tantalum and unobtainium and all these vibranium and whatever. I think just give me a really, really great chrono from the 1940s, like an AP or a VC or certainly a Patek. And if I were buying something from the big three, that's what I would be on first by them.
Just want to get through the super chats very quickly. We got B Barsley with the $2 super chat saying, "Love you, Wizard. Get well soon." Totally agree. Thank you very much for your contribution. We got Muhammad Ali with the £4.50 saying, "Great seeing you, Stefano, on a live stream. Good luck with everything. No question. We're definitely wishing the Wizard well." We got MJT saying, "Good day, gents. Wishing the Wizard well." No question. Eric King Ben says, "We love you, Stefano." No question. And Perth says, with the $2 saying, "Can't believe that." Come on, Perth. I love you and I thank you for the contribution, but let's keep it a drama-free street. I talk watches. You know what I mean? I don't subscribe to this drama methodology. That's it. Just talk the watches. Thank you very much, Perth. We got Rez with the $50 saying, "Get well, Wizard." Thank you very much for the $50 donation. And certainly we wish him well. Now, let me ask you, I really appreciate your really. I'm just going to, let me mute Stefano because I don't want us to be privy to maybe information we shouldn't be privy to. But I just want to mention, hold on, the nurse is there. I don't want to dox her either. I'll bring it back after. Yeah. So I just want to circle back to kind of what we were discussing earlier, if we can, right? Which was the kind of modern hype that Vacheron is experiencing because of a blue dial sports watch, essentially, right? Their blue dial sports watch, which is the overseas, right? It took the Nautilus and Aquanaut and Royal Oak to become unreachable for people to really start to appreciate, I think, Vacheron brand, right? Yeah. And social media obviously played its part and what have you. But, there's no question about it, in my opinion. That's what it took. And I think that modern Vacheron, right, will benefit from the fact that their watches won't make it into, kind of the broader popular culture and be ruined by, basically popular culture, right? It'll still remain a traditionalist brand, a watch enthusiast brand. And I think their modern range, right, be it their sports watches and their dress watch, are so beautifully executed that it makes them unique within the Trinity in that they're not a hype brand. They make excellent pieces that are, at the highest form. And they're totally, like, from a design, aesthetical point of view and complication point of view, totally unique in the industry.
Well, just take that blue-faced VC, put a rainbow bezel on it, and you can turn it into a social media-worthy watch.
Yeah, but see, I think that would kill Vacheron, right? Because they're such a traditional,
of course.
Right, they're such a traditional brand. I mean, they're the longest they're the oldest, from a continuous making watches standpoint, right? They're the oldest brand, right? So from 1755, they've been making watches continuously, and making a ridiculous iced out piece like that would really kill the brand, no question about it. It would make me hate it, to be honest. Actually, it might be good because hopefully we'll sink the brand and then I could buy their watches pretty cheap. We got Perth Luxury with it too. Thank you very much, Rez, again, for the $50 contribution. That's extremely generous. So just want to say thank you again. Perth with the $2 saying, "Todd, do you really want the Lange one or was it jokes?"
No. I think that particular model, that first Lange one, the first year in stainless and also then the honey gold would be the two. One of those two, probably the stainless, just because it's sort of the Lange one. But no, I was being dead serious. I think that's a very, very special historical watch, and it's the design is sort of an inflection point for horology. And of all the models, that stainless model would, in terms from a collector point of view, the anchor kind of Lange, that's like your anchor Lange, kind of thing. You can build around that.
Right. And that has an interesting story. Now, I'm not sure about the honey Lange. I think, is that the one that has like more of a guilloche type dial?
Not so much. Not really.
Because I know
It's not a bit, but it's not like overly done like a Voodoo Lane or something like that.
Todd watches the show. Todd watches the show. I like it. That is my favorite independent interstate. Hold on. Do I have the right one pulled up? Is it this center one right here?
Sorry, I gotta take my glass. Yes, I believe that is it. Yep.
Okay, interesting. Because I know that if I'm not mistaken, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. The steel Lange one, it was initially launched for some retailer, right? It was some retailer that had it, and then people started complaining that it wasn't available kind of everywhere, and then Lange just ended up discontinuing it, or am I totally off base?
I don't know the entire story behind it, but I just know that that those stainless were made in a relatively small number at the beginning of the first run of the very first Lange ones, and then for some reason they just stopped and never really revisited it again, and so it's just very, very hard to put your hands on.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I think they're selling upwards of like 300,000+ now at this point.
Yeah, I know they're around the $250,000 range for sure. Right. But not long ago, they were not that. So that's something that's happened in the last couple of years. That's a relatively new leap, which is great for Lange. I mean, good for them. So.
Right. No question about it. We got Daniel Katz with the $2.79 super chat saying, "All the best, Mr. Stefano." Yeah, no question about it. We're definitely wishing him well. Andrew said, "What happened to the watch wizard?" Text me. I will text you after the show. I'll text you after the show. Okay, we're good. We're all good. Here we go.
Sorry, the nurse came in, guys.
No worries. I didn't want us to be privy to any information.
No, it's just, they prick and probe me and blood test and check in case sugars. Got me on heparin drip to keep my blood thin for the
fucking I didn't realize
surgery.
you were in the hospital.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just couldn't tell from the.
I'm in the best hospital.
We're trying to give him a welcome escape. He's probably bored out of his mind in that goddamn hospital.
Jesus. Dude.
A Perth Luxury with the $2 saying, "Thanks, Jonathan, and I approve." Why Jacob and Co? Hold on, I don't understand. What do you mean? Why Jacob and Co? Who likes Jacob and Co on the panel? I don't think anybody likes Jacob and Co on the panel.
Only astronomy, a spider. That's the one I want to buy.
It's the one I really like. I like the new Alec Monopoly. That's my favorite, guys.
Did he do one? Oh, and I think the spider's much better.
JJ loves it too. He's got Scrooge McDuck. He loves Scrooge McDuck, so he's gonna get it for that alone.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's hilarious. Here, let me pull this up for you.
Jacob and Co was smart. They would start doing like those astronomia ones, but they would start like featuring people in the art in the horological world. Like they would do a timepiece gentleman astronomia, and they would do Roman Scharf, and they would do an Archie luxury astronomia, with his head going around in a circle, like, all in diamonds. It'd be really great. We could do a watch one.
He's asking why you want the spider. I don't think he realizes it's a little bit of a gag.
I'm totally sarcastic about the Jacob and Co. I'm sorry. I'm not very good in clarifying when I'm being sarcastic and when I'm not.
Right. He's being sarcastic. He definitely doesn't want us.
The one is a yes. The Jacob and Co. is a definitely not under any circumstance whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. Fish and Chip asking me, what do you think of Roger Smith watches? So Roger's an interesting character in the watch industry, and I'll explain why. Listen, I like his watches, but they're not my favorite, right? So to me, like when I define a true independent, Todd, right, is they can't be just very simple round case watches, right? Because they're not taking, in my opinion, much risk, commercial risk, right? And that's one thing that I've kind of said about Rogers. I wish his designs weren't so classical. They're very, very, very traditional in that respect, right? They're very much, in the spirit of what I would expect maybe from a lot of watch brands. And to me, the spirit of independence is they're allowed to experiment beyond kind of just, more traditional designs. I don't know what you think of that criticism.
Well, that's kind of what you and I have spoken about before,
right,
Marco, which is the difference between novelty and development. Roger's a watchmaker who's only interested in development. He has zero interest in novelty whatsoever. You can keep your Urworks and you can keep your MB&Fs and you can keep your Dibithunes, and all that stuff. Those people are interested in something else. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but it's a difference in approach. And Roger's approach, comes from a very classicist history of George. And George's interest was in literally changing the world. Like, for all the work that people like de Bethune and Vianney Halter and MB&F and all these wonderful, terrific watchmakers do, George, who was by far the biggest traditionalist, and counting in people like Journe and everybody else, and Dufour even for that matter, George, with all his uptight, super classicist, traditionalist viewpoint, is the one who changed the world, and he's the only one who changed the world in the horological, firmament in the last 200 years in a meaningful way. Everybody else has made little incremental tweaks. George changed the world. And so I think that Roger is in a certain way trying to position himself to do the same thing. And he's going to places that George would have never gone to, which is great. Like, particularly with this, the chemical attempts that he's making with nanotechnology that we discussed earlier, and I won't go through that again. But, if it's just design you're going for, there's a great quote by my favorite poet of the 20th century, Wallace Stevens. Somebody said, isn't it really important to be original? And how do you maintain your originality? And he said, oh, well, there's so many more important things to be than original. And I think that that's kind of Roger's viewpoint. So, if you like people who are pushing the envelope when it comes to what we think of a watch in terms of its how we interact with it, like the actual phenomenological interaction of a watch, then you're going to be interested in somebody like Vianney, which I love, or you're going to be interested in somebody like MB&F, and you're going to be interested in de Bethune. And if you're really interested in something else, which is sort of like the sheer technical, shoving the technical development of a watch forward, you're probably going to be looking elsewhere to a certain extent. It's really hard to do both. You kind of have to pick one or the other to a large degree. So, and I think Dufour to a certain extent is in that category where it's less the one watch that we discussed the other week, the Grand Petite Sonnerie, was a technical innovation. But aside from that watch, the simplicity and the duality to a certain extent are less technical than they really are about raising finishing to the highest possible level. So in a certain way, it relates more to like what MB&F or Urwerk or de Bethune would be doing with the focus on like fetish finish, which is a different thing. So that's just my 2 cents on it. But I don't think there's a right or wrong answer there. I think that's really a super personal,
way of viewing watches. It's just a very personal way of viewing watches. Yeah.
You can't go, you can't go wrong, kind of thing. I just think it's personal. So, and that's what makes the world go round. That's what's interesting.
Now, let me ask, have you met Roger before?
I've only spoken with him on the phone. I've not actually met him.
Okay.
Gotcha. I entered like watches like a year before COVID struck. So I haven't really gone anywhere to meet anybody. The sad story is that when I worked at Sotheby's in the 1990s, George Daniels was the advisor to Tina Millar in the Sotheby's watch department in London. And I knew, of course, Darren Schnipper, who worked at that point in the watch department in New York, where I worked at Sotheby's. And, had I had an interest in watches then, I could have gone to Darren and said, I'm going to London, which I did from time to time. Do you think that I could like go to Sotheby's one day when Dr. Daniels is there and meet him? And it's just one of those sad things. It's like 1 degree of separation. And it was just like, I wasn't mature enough and ready for that. And it wasn't meant to be. But like, that would have been, you were having a discussion the other day, I remember, about who's the one person that you would love, what was it, to have dinner with?
To meet, right?
People were naming various people. And to me, it would have been George Daniels. I would have loved to sit down with George Daniels and talk about watches, because I would have felt his mind was the deepest and the broadest when it came to watches from a technical and a historical, from the hands-on point of view of being a maker, and also from the sort of the historical side of like being, I guess you'd say, like a curator or a connoisseur of watches. Like he was the entire Megillah all wrapped into one thing with a bow on top. and to have dinner with him would have been, and I could have done it, like that's the sad thing. So
you kind of get the best of both worlds, I guess, because he was a big historian on Abraham Louis Breguet's work, right? And I said I would have dinner with Breguet, you know what I mean, the original Breguet, because what he accomplished.
Nothing to match that dinner either. Let's kid,
Right, but I guess you get the best of both worlds in that he's kind of a more modern watchmaker, but also a big watch historian, right? That was something very important, right? Was respecting tradition and respecting the past and how watches were made in the past.
Absolutely.
Just very quickly, I want to get this super chat from Perth Luxury with the $2 saying, "Thanks for making my day, Todd. Timepiece gentleman, astronomia, LOL." So let me ask you, what would it chime, or what would be the interesting complicated? There's got to be something interesting.
Oh no, well, the chime would be their theme song, and for the watch cardinal astronomia, it would be your theme song.
Maybe what it can be, right, is like it tells the time, and you know how it has like a diamond, right? It would be like a John Mayer Daytona, like a yellow, gold, green dial Daytona there. Okay, sorry, that's too far. Maybe that's too far. We got AC Morgan with a $10 saying, "What do you think of the 49150?" Okay, hold on, I gotta pull these up. 49150. Here we go. Versus the 4500. Just picked up. 1 second. Just picked up a blue 49150 chrono tonight from Chrono 24. I like the face shape. There we go. It's the Gen 2 overseas with the big data 12, which I technically prefer over the modern one.
Wow.
I like the case shape and thinnest of the 49150 versus the 4500. The 4500 looks bloated like me. So here's what I would say. I like the big data 12. I think the two things that you lose is, in my opinion, obviously the modern movement, the modern kind of design of the watch, the interchangeable strap system as well. But I think overall, this is really the design I gravitate towards more. I really hate 430 date windows. I don't know about you, Dr. Levin, but I despise the
Please stop with the doctor stuff.
No, I gotta give you the proper respect.
No, nobody.
You worked for these doctors. What do you mean?
But I don't like it. So just Todd. But
okay, Todd.
I'm not a date window guy. Well, it's not true. Like I like the longer one. So what am I saying? So go figure.
Oh, hold on. Is he just talking about the 4500, just the base model overseas? So here's the thing, right? Ooh, this is a tough question. So if we're talking just the 4500 blue dial, no, to be honest, I prefer it's more you're getting a more complicated watch. I think it's just as nice. No, I think you may listen. I got to be honest with you. These are becoming ridiculously priced, right? We're talking about this earlier, right? The hype of the overseas.
How much are these? Just because I don't know.
They're getting up there.
Like on the gray market, these are getting expensive.
Oh yeah, they definitely are.
Anybody have a sense? Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm gonna pull it up.
I just thought you might know offhand.
Here we go. So about 50,000.
Oh my God.
That's a lot of money. I mean,
fucking expensive.
Okay. Wow. I can think of a lot of things to buy for 50K. So.
Yeah, about 40,000 US. 40,000 US.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Well, still, I can think of a lot of things to buy for 40K.
Right. I mean, that's Corn de Vache money. That's Corn de Vache. Pre-owned Corn de Vache.
Yeah.
But AC Morgan, yeah, listen. I think
Breguet chrono right now on a collected man for like 18,000 pounds.
See, that's expensive because there's actually one that's cheaper on Chrono 24. You're talking about the 3235, right?
I think that's it. Yeah. Beautiful thing though. And that's, or no, maybe I'm wrong about the price. Maybe it's more like 15,000 pounds.
Here, hold on. Let me buy watches.
But I'm just saying, like, as an alternative, I mean, that's a very handsome thing, but you may not like Breguet, so then that may not be.
But to be fair, right? To be fair, it is a smaller watch, 36 millimeter. So for some people, 3237. Sorry,
yeah,
3237.
That's a very handsome watch, though. I mean, I think.
Yeah, no question. And it does wear bigger technically because those lugs are quite long, right?
Yeah.
And this has the Lamagna 2310 movement.
Yeah, so it's a super solid movement. I mean, 15, with a little money off, maybe it's 15,000 pounds. So what is that, like $21,000? Half the price of other one we were just looking at?
Yeah, so we're talking about the chrono, right? The Gen 2 overseas chronograph with the big data 12. I think 21,000, that's a very good price. You're getting a chronograph
I think
from a
that's a little
Trinity?
much for 20,000. I mean, I know $20,000 is still a lot of money to people, and I don't mean to be cavalier with people's money. I'm just saying I think that that's a lot of watch for roughly $20,000.
Right. Now, hold on. Let me do the conversion here.
Probably 21 with a discount.
Now, I'm trying to find a price. What's about 16,000 euros to? Oh,
Yeah,
here we
you
go.
probably get a discount off of that. Let's call it 15, and probably more like that. That would be a 5% discount. 15,000 euros.
Okay, 20. Actually, this is cheaper than the one I saw in Chrono 24. I got to be honest with you. I think this is a great watch.
I mean,
I consider getting this myself.
and that's before you negotiate a discount, so it's probably like 21K. All
Right.
in. I think that's a handsome buy for 21K.
Now, there's also the one. I think it's the 5237, right? The 5237 is a bit bigger.
Different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 38 mil as opposed to 36, which some people prefer.
Yeah, I get that.
So, but same kind of idea, right? You can still get these for a reasonable price and same kind of movement.
And you're walking in, you don't have to fight with a fucking AD to get something like this, probably. You don't have to get on a ridiculous list. You don't have to suck somebody's kneecap. You just walk in, they have it, you buy it, so it's sort of like all that nonsense is also you don't have to deal with, which is a thing.
You don't have to pray to the horological gods every night that you'll get a steel Rolex at retail.
I still don't understand all that stuff. I don't know anybody.
Now, Todd, would you ever buy a Rolex? Every man needs a Rolex, right?
Sure, I would. But you know my collecting sensibilities at this point. I wouldn't ever be going into an AD to buy a new Rolex. I would have zero interest in that.
If you were buying one, what would you be interested in? Is it like, I feel like you're a Z Blue Milgas type of guy? No,
it would be like a 6200 Explorer or 6538. Either one, big crown.
Okay, we're talking vintage Rolex, vintage, not modern.
1950s. Yeah, and the problem is they're too delicate to wear on a regular basis, realistically, and they're just too expensive now. But even if I decided to go for them, the problem is that they're too delicate to really wear on a regular basis at this point, being their age and the delicacy of the loom and this kind of dynamic. So I just don't think I'll probably ever wind up with one. Although maybe one day there's something like a Rolex. I mean, maybe there's something like a vintage Daytona in my future, because that's probably something that's still sturdy enough to really wear, honestly, to wear. And I guess you could argue if you're only going to have a Rolex in your collection, what would be an anchor kind of Rolex? And certainly a vintage Daytona, you could at least make the argument for if it's not going to be the 6200 or 6538 kind of thing.
Now, how vintage are we going? Are we talking Zenith Daytona or we're talking manual wine Daytonas?
No, we're talking manual wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking Valjoux 72 Daytona.
I really like an Oyster Soto.
Okay.
Something like that. But there's only 12 of those. So, or 12 to 20, depending on who you talk to. So, something like that would be probably, but I don't know if I'll ever get there because there's so many other things in my head that I'd be more interested in before that.
Right. We're talking Reshepi and Akrivia, right? That's the next, that's the anchor pieces.
Yeah, if I'm fortunate enough, so. Yeah.
Now, Todd, let me ask you, because I am fascinated. How did you come to this kind of anchor theory, right? This idea of building out your collection?
It's something that I use in the art world, as I had told you. It's not something that I developed with watches. It's, when you're dealing with collectors in the art world and they're interested in building a collection over time of significance, the question is, what's the best way to go about that, where they can have the best educational modality, learning along the way. And although everybody makes a misstep here or there, to minimize the missteps, and at least the ones that you do make are not the super expensive, purchases. Maybe they're on lesser purchases. Because every collector has what I call I must have it moments. There are moments when people, and I'm sure you've done this with watches, where you're holding a watch in your hand or something like that, and you know that it may not be the right one, or maybe it's not exactly the right thing, or maybe there's this or that, whatever, but you're like having this I must have it moment. And so when my collectors are having that sort of sensibility, I go through the list the laundry list with them of why maybe this specific thing isn't by the right artist, or it's not, there's a condition issue, or there's a, the price is maybe a little high, or whatever the dynamics are. And sometimes they just turn to me and they say, but I really want this. And in that case, I'm like, is this a I must have it moment? And if it is, then, I make sure that we get the best deal for the piece. And then I make sure that they hang that and they live with it. And usually after 6 months, I'll come back to them and say, so you've lived with this now. How do you feel about it? And if they say, you know what, we agree with you, we probably made an error in judgment, but at that moment, we just were having a thing, and that's fine. But if they say to me, we absolutely love this piece, we're so glad we purchased it, we think it's like the best thing ever, then what happens is I've become educated about my clients, and I've learned something about them, which makes me a better advisor for them going forward. But either way, somebody's going to learn something from that experience. So the anchor dynamic, comes out of me building collections in the art world. It's not something I started with watches, like out of nothing.
Okay, I got you. And let me ask, because you're talking interest mostly in vintage Rolex, right? Is it because you just don't like modern Rolex, or?
It's just because, like, if you're going to buy a Rolex, I really want to buy something that I feel is like an inflection quality piece, something that really is a thing that when people think Rolex in their head, like, what do they think of immediately? Like what's the Rolex? Like, what's the Lange, kind of thing. I'd rather have, and that's like what the anchor kind of idea is, I'd rather have that thing in my mind, not necessarily in others, but in my mind, I feel is like a foundational piece that literally the history or the importance of that brand turns on, rather than just like something stamped with the name of the company that's made by them, sort of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And let me ask you, how do you, I guess, what hoops do you go through to evaluate a watch? You know what I mean? Like, how do you decide, like, this is what I value in, be it Rolex or any other watch from, I guess, any brand?
Do what I'm doing with you guys. I read everything I can get my hands on. I interact with as many people who know more than I do, which is pretty much everybody in the watch world. I ask a lot.
Don't sell yourself short here. You know quite a bit.
I ask a lot of questions. It's basically studying, self-study, and then asking a lot of questions of like everybody and anybody who, and doesn't mean I give every answer equal weight. I use the auction houses. I find them to be an endless, kind of super useful dynamic, going and speaking to the experts there, being able to pick up their watches, in their sales, look at them, ask questions about them. Like, that's wonderful. The only place I really don't go anymore is like to ADs to talk with them, because I'm not going to buy anything there. And I feel bad, like wasting people's time when I'm not going to be a buyer. And I'm not going to jump through, like what you said, like those hoops of like, trying to ingratiate myself to the point where they're going to sell me something that I necessarily don't even like, I'm not dying for the way somebody else is really dying for. Because there are people who's really dying for something. And like, who am I to get in line in front of somebody just because I can afford it and like take that out of their mouth? That's not very nice. I wouldn't want somebody doing that to me. So the AD is the only places I don't go. But there have been some people I go to, like I happen to fall into the Journe boutique in Los Angeles, and Laurent, who is F.P. Journe's brother, was there. And he saw that I was wearing a watch, a specific watch. And he was like, wow, that's really great. And we sat down and we like talked for like, nicest guy. We probably chatted for 40 minutes about all sorts of stuff. And I wasn't there to buy a Journe, at all. And it was clear. I wasn't pulling out my wallet. But it was just like great to hear him talk about like Journe, his brother, the brand, how they were thinking about things, how COVID had affected them, this, that, the other. Like, that's the fact that somebody would take the time in a shop to do that with me. It's kind of amazing, so that's how I learn.
Well, Todd, to be fair, I don't know if I would have been as nice as you. I definitely would have asked for resonance or two. I was in here. No, I'm just kidding. There
was nothing for sale anyways.
Right, there's nothing for sale. Exactly.
They shut their books for like the next 2 to 3 years. Like, there are no Journes available from the boutiques. The people who are in line, who they're going to for the next 2 or 3 years. So you nobody else can get a watch from Journe for the next 2 or 3 years now. The books are shut. Can't get one.
I found it so funny. A friend of mine who owns one, he owns a Cornet Souverain. He got sent a marketing kind of ad on Father's Day, right? It's like it was get the piece, your father always wanted, or your loved one always wanted. He's like, yeah, just wait till they hear how long it takes before he
Yeah,
gets
that's the
it.
problem. It's, you were just talking about Roger. He just shut his books recently. He's got a 6.5-year list now of watches to make for people. And it just at a certain point, it became silly. I mean, it's great to have all, but what are you going to do? Have somebody call you for a watch and say, I'm happy to make it for you, and it's going to be 10 years. Like, you can't do that to people. It sounds horrible. And he doesn't want to do that to people. He's already sheepish already about the orders he has to make, just to kind of clear the decks. So he just had to shut the books. It was the only sensible thing to do. Although it sounds like a snotty thing, it's actually, from his point of view, he just didn't want to lead people on, So this is what happens with the independents of all sizes.
This is a great comment from Tim saying, I'd happily take a Rolex at retail, but the fact you can't buy a product with your hard-earned money and it's now a privilege if you're lucky enough is a joke. Yeah, 100%.
Well, it's not, but let's face it, with all luxury goods, this is the case. You can't just go in and buy a Bentley. You can't just go in and buy an Hermes Birkin bag. You can't just go in and,
buy a Ferrari.
Yeah, buy a Ferrari. It's like, get in line. The question is not how much money are you worth. The question is, who are you? And, there are lots of things, a lot of luxury goods, from clothing to cars to, I know a lot of people who buy wine and, you want to buy certain, or bourbon. And, there's only a certain amount of production, and these stores have waiting lists of their good customers. And you can't just walk in and buy a grandpappy 23-year-old.
No.
It's one on the shelf that you're willing to pay $8,000 for. But if you want to buy it at, retail the year it comes out, good luck with that.
Yeah.
So I have to say, on one hand, it's hardly unusual that there are these like waiting lists. And don't get me started about the art world. That's nuts altogether. But it's hardly unusual. But having said that, nobody's been able to really explain to me, and I'm not looking for it here, but like the Rolex thing of like, they pay a fortune to have these stores that are stocked with nothing. When you walk in, there's not even the watches in the case for you to handle that are like store use only. You know what I mean? That may not even have guts in them. It's just to see, to pick it up and see what it looks like and try it on your wrist. Like, the stores are literally empty. But they're paying for the real estate. What's the point of that? That I don't get that at all. That I really don't understand.
Right. There's literally no point in owning a boutique at all. I mean, you're literally paying rent, staff, people just for you not to be able to even sell watches to people. You know what I mean?
It's like when I went into the Journe boutique and I spoke with Laurent. I told you that story a few minutes ago. They had Journe watches in the boutique. Now, they were dummies, okay? So the guts were not in the watches, but they were all there. You could hold them in your hand. You could turn them over, you could, do all that. And that at least was like a nice experience, and the boutique feels great about it because they can't sell it to you anyway. So it's like, these are all dummies. They're not for sale. Okay, but could I look at the vertical tourbillon? Of course. Can I look at a resonance? Of course you can. Can I look at a tourbillon souverain? Here's one right here, but to go into a place and there's literally nothing in the store, I can't think of an experience where I've ever had that before, ever, with anything.
I just want to say welcome to the show, Soulless Art. How are you, my man? Can you hear us?
Good, thanks. Yeah, can you hear me?
It's very late for you. What are you still doing awake, man?
I had a really bad day, actually. I was at the I'm supposed to be on a flight now to Russia.
Okay.
And I had my vaccine certificate, and they required a PCR test. Even though my final destination required the vaccine certificate, I had to stop off in Russia for 1 hour, get a connecting flight. But Russia requires a PCR test, so they wouldn't let me on the flight. Like the very last moment, they wouldn't let me on. So I've just got back to my apartment and I've booked another flight. I'm flying off very early in the morning.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. That really sucks.
But what do you have to do in order to be able to fly that you couldn't do the first time?
He needs a COVID test,
I
right?
have. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm flying. My stopover is in the EU this time. So my stopover this time is in Frankfurt, and
Got it.
the documents I have is okay for Frankfurt. I'm
Got
still
it.
gonna go in the morning and get an androgen PCR test,
Just
like a
to,
really fast one. They give you the results in 30 minutes or something. So
yeah. I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
so like, yeah.
I just want to pull this up.
I
We got
fixed it anyway. Yep.
saying first time ever, Stefano sig counter is 0. Right, no cigarettes. He's going to quit after this. I just wanted to, I guess, well, first, before we get into the next story, I just wanted to do a quick wristwatch check. What is everybody wearing on the wrist today? Be good to know. Okay, Todd, we have to put that full screen for the people in the back. Hold on 1 second. Here we go. There we go. This is the Millennium, right?
Nope, that's the anniversary.
The anniversary. Sorry, the anniversary.
Wow.
Yes. Now this was made by Roger, right, in collaboration with George.
Yeah,
Right.
it was.
And this is the last piece they kind of made. The last
Yep.
Stein Daniels piece, right?
Yeah, it's the last piece that George designed before he died.
Oh man, what a watch! I wanted to bring this up. Wristwatch Jesus. Oh man,
Ooh,
that definitely deserves.
look at
Oh,
that.
you can.
Wow. Oh my
Is that
God.
okay? I know the light's not great. I apologize.
It's all good. Hey,
Yeah.
to be able to see the guys, I don't think people.
Yeah,
how many?
I mean-
30 in the world, right?
35.
35. There we go.
Even with the bad lighting, we can see how good it looks.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Incredible. All right, let's not kill Todd's poor arm. I just want to bring this article up here. It's the ultra thin overseas that wristwatch
Yeah.
Jesus wanted me to pull up. It's a gorgeous watch. You know my only
This, I
problem
think,
with this?
this is part of some of the mistakes that Vacheron has made with the sports watches, is that they didn't keep the original 920 movement. You know, the ultra thin automatic
move.
movement.
Yeah.
They did. So they
Why
did
not?
release a special platinum watch, which is this one,
Okay.
which has the ultra thin movement
But
inside.
it looks ridiculous. That's the problem. Look at the spacer.
Yeah,
That's the
I
real
know.
problem.
That looks
I know.
weird.
Because there's
Because-
a spacer in the movement. The movement is super small.
That
because
looks
I think
really
this is a
bad.
42.
That really.
They should have released it in 39. You know, like the AP and the
Right.
Nautilus. I mean, I still don't get it why they because
Let me
for
tell
me,
you.
which is important for the AP for example for the 15202, is that it still uses that legendary automatic ultra thin movement that was especially made by JLC exclusively for AP, VC, and Patek.
Right.
You know, this is like heritage, and I don't know why they are not using that movement right now.
Yeah, no question about it.
The fact that it just looks really.
Are you
Yeah.
just listening to a podcast?
It really. The nurse is there. Time for his sponge bath.
Yeah. But that's kind of the
I was waiting for Watch Wizard's sponge bath. They took away the best part of the whole thing. Now the back of that looks like kindergartner did it. You know, jammed it in with like a screwdriver.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but this is because they used a 42 casing, which I don't agree. I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't make
I think it's also a bit ridiculous, you know.
Yeah.
This
I
in a
just
38 or 39 would look very good.
Yes, but the problem is that, and now let me ask you: can they make what's the traditional VC size? 41, right?
The which one?
The overseas, the 4500.
It's either 41 or 42.
Right. So that's the problem, right? They would have to change the strap change system. Maybe that's too difficult for them to do. I don't know. You know,
I mean,
logistically.
AP does it.
Yeah, they should be
Patek
able to
does
do
it.
that.
Why
There
can't
should
they
be.
do it? I mean, come
Fair
on.
enough.
Yeah.
Just put in some effort.
We got Omar with a $5 saying, "Get well, Stefano." Thank you very much for the super chat. No question about it. And the watch guy reminding everybody, guys, we got to like the stream. It's very important for the YouTube algorithm. But Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Overseas is one model that I like from Vacheron, but it's not necessarily like my favorite from the line, right? To me, where they really shine is their Historiques collection. So I especially like the 1921, the 1942, the Corne de Vache. I think that's where they really shine is their reeditions of their kind of older models. Now, here's the problem with that, right? And that's something that I do see long-term potential as a problem is you can't be that brand that just always re-releases your old design, right? At a certain point, you have to come out with new designs that are kind of nice and tailored for the taste of the modern consumer. And you just don't see that, I think, from Vacheron enough, especially as it relates to their dress watches. But I don't know if there's anybody else who has a different opinion on the panel.
Well, they did release the 56 collection recently, which
Yes,
I think the triple calendar looks really good. Really good, you know. Well, technically, it's still based on some older model. But
yeah. So here's the
think it
problem I
was-
have with the 56 personally. It's the case. The case is off-putting a little bit to me, and it's this right here. You see these like four like triangles where the case and the lugs meet.
yeah,
That's really it's a little off-putting to me. So I tried this on in person. It looks nice, but that little detail is just a little strange to me. It's just not my favorite.
I wish they'd either choose to use Arabic numbers or bezels or bars, you know, but not both like that.
Yeah.
That's just not a design dynamic that I like.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And the one thing that I really dislike is this base model where they use a Cartier caliber and it's not a Geneva seal. So it's just like Vacheron. It's like Vacheron cheaping out, right? Which you never like to see a Trinity brand doing.
yeah, that is true. I mean, it was it was the intention, yeah, to make it cheap. But,
Right. Yeah, it's more. It's
yeah,
their
I mean,
entry
yeah,
level.
it's-
But there's a certain standard that you expect from Vacheron, right?
cheaping out.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it doesn't discredit any of their other works, you know.
SLC Watch Collector says, feel there's too much space between the day and the month. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't think it's that outlandish, to be fair.
Well, the
Kinda
fact
looks
that
like a face.
the fact that the whole thing is silver helps mute it tremendously on a visual from a visual sense, and also the day-date windows. You know, you now have the three because they've been moved up to the center. Gives it a better symmetrical. I think that particular one that you showed, the all silver one, is the most, to me, the most elegant of the group.
Yeah. See, I like the blue because blue is my favorite color, but that's just my. Oh, we got Stefano who's next. Stefano, how you doing, man? You holding in there?
Yes,
But
sir.
if you need to go, no worries about it.
She had to draw blood again. They've been pricking and probing me, man, all day, every 2 hours.
Right.
But that Vacheron, I don't like those extra little wings, I call them, between the lugs. So I
Right.
feel for you because it ruins the historical idea of what I think when Vacheron. That's
It
maybe a
ruins the
reason.
entire aesthetic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a reason why it fell from grace going with a Cartier, like you said, the inexpensive movement. Plus, I don't get it. It should be month day, not day month, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yes.
Wait, hold on. Say that again. You want a month date?
The
or
month
day?
first, then the day. But
Yeah.
they put the day like Friday, and then they put January. It should be January. and then
January,
Friday.
Wait, why would it be like that? Don't you read the date Friday,
You always read
January?
the month, the day, and the year. So
No, you read the day first. So the weekday, Friday.
It's also an American. It's also an American versus European thing. Like we write
it is.
February 2000, and they write
Mine has
February.
day then month.
So
Right.
that's
They
also
put the date, then the month, where we put the month, then the date.
Focus.
not in focus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
hold on.
in focus.
3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Focus.
There you go.
Yeah, you see Friday, June the 18th. It's not
Right.
really set,
That-
but it's
That is not up to
Yeah.
date, but
That's a very European thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a Swiss brand. Yeah, you know.
Well, yeah, of course.
Newbie watch guy with the £2 saying, "What is a true limited edition? Less than 100, in my opinion, just like Prince." Yeah, so we had a conversation about this, and I agree with Cars and Chronos' assessment. He said 400. 400 is the max. The reason being that it's 2 per country, roughly. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah,
I
because there's
think
about 80 countries. Yeah, that
I think that's
sounds about
totally
right.
reasonable. Yeah, 100%. I think that's definitely the way to go. 400 is probably the most reasonable number.
Unless you're like Hublot that makes 10 pieces, but they make 1,000 limited production at 10 pieces, which is not a limited piece. So,
Right. Stefano, you hanging in there?
oh yeah.
You're sure you're okay?
Well, I think I sent you a super chat thanking you.
No, I don't. Well, not that unless I missed it. Hold on.
It's an orange one.
It's okay. You don't have to do that. Please don't do that.
No, I wanted to. I said, old soul, thank you for making my day and week because I've been jammed up in the hospital the whole week.
Right. Yeah, no, you don't have to do that. Please don't do that, actually.
It's good. It's done already. You'll get it. Don't worry.
Marty Evans saying the SIG count is 0. That's right. Yeah. But Stefano, I mean, listen, we're wishing you well. And, I mean, Stefano has become a real pillar of the community. You know what I mean? So we obviously want him to do.
Thank you very much for all
the
well
asking for the details. He's asking cute nurse counts.
There you go.
That's what we all want to know.
Yeah.
There's a few, but I'm too old. You know, I gotta watch it. I don't want to be one of those.
Stefano, it's not about age. It's all about the game. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta shake off the rust and get back into
Bucks
it.
would love 3 of them that I've had here in the daytime today.
It's the rust. Like you just gotta shake off the rust, and then you'll be back in the game, no problem.
Oh yeah, once they clean out my whole heart, then I'll be. He said the doctor said you'll be 35 again. All right, let's find out if that's true. I told him.
We got a question from Logan saying, Stefano, who's running your shop while you're out? Well, you got somebody who runs it.
I have somebody who runs my day-to-day, but now all the emails that are coming in for orders and stuff, I have my girl Debbie. The problem is she's leaving for England on Friday, and then I got to wait till I get home next week, then I'll sign on because doctor said do not even attempt to go to work for at least 3 months. I'm like, I'll stay home and work from my computer. So...
Right. Yeah, and you can always stream. You know what I mean? Work from home.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'll be streaming lots as soon as I get back.
Looking at your website.
It's justintime.ca.
Yeah. I was looking at it.
But unfortunately,
it's a lot of Cartier stuff on it.
I'm not happy. Well, the guy never even completed it right, and he was a former student of mine at the college where I used to teach the game development program. I used to teach calculus and physics, and he just did it for a couple of dollars. But so I'm like, I'm your instructor. I'm not going to say nothing. Thanks for everything. I'm looking for a good web designer now. If anybody knows anyone, let me know. Give him my info, send a link, send the email, a chat, whatever. As soon as I get out of the hospital, I'm going to revamp my entire thing.
We got AC Morgan with a $5 super chat saying, Marco, get my super chats while my credit card works. Wait, Stefano, you have a heart. LOL, get well, my friend. That's it. By the way, guys, anybody in the chat or anybody on the panel, if you guys have any questions, by all means, please feel free to ask any questions. Because I'm out of questions. I don't know what else to ask for the night. We got the Gentleman's Hangout, JJ joining us with a $5 super chat saying, hey, everyone, glad to see my man Stefano doing well. Here's a super chat for the plastic screenshot phone. Nice. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, JJ. Yeah, any questions, please let us know. I have a question.
Yeah.
Todd, you mentioned you got into watches kind of to connect back to your father, right? If I'm not mistaken, the episode of Hodinky.
Yep.
You want to talk about that at all? Or was he like a big watch collector or?
Nope. My dad was a traveling salesman. And at the end of his life, after my stepmom, they were married for 35, 40 years, passed away, he was alone. And somewhere along the line, he was reading Watch Time magazine. He must have gotten it off of the newsstand or something and got interested. And for the last few years of his life, whenever I went over, there'd be this Watch Time magazine and a big magnifying glass because he couldn't see the small print. And he lived a very, very modest life, kind of thing. And one day I walked in and he just said, I've been studying and I'm thinking of buying a watch. And I thought it was great because he found something that he was interested in. It was very unlike him. He wasn't that kind of person, and spending money was definitely not something my father did. So he had done his homework, and he had traveled to a store in nearby. The biggest city nearby was Detroit. He lived in a tiny little town called Bay City, Michigan, and it was 2 hours away. And he would drive in, and there was a watch store there in the mall in the Detroit area, and he had befriended one of the salespeople there, and he wanted to buy this Campanola, and he was really excited about it, and that's kind of what happened. So, he was so happy when he got it, and he really wore it with a lot of pride, and he passed away about 18 months after he purchased it. When he passed away, I had given him, for his birthdays and stuff, once I knew he was interested in watches, like a bunch of these big coffee table books that you can buy on various type, like Rolex and, these big, ginormous coffee table books, partially because the pictures were big and he didn't need a magnifying glass to look at them and enjoy them. So when he passed away, I didn't want to throw the books out because I had given them to him. So I just took them all and I put them in like one of those banker's boxes, you know what I'm talking about, and then put that box in my storage in New York, where I keep some paperwork. And like 10 years later, 7 years later, after I was going through that area, cleaning out some stuff, and there was that box there. I had forgotten what was inside, to be honest, because I didn't label it. And I opened it up, and there were all these books. And in the books, I was like, oh, those are the books I gave my dad. But inside the books, when I opened them, were Post-it notes from my father. And he had written notes to himself about all the watches and what he liked about one watch or what he didn't like about another watch, or aspects of the watch he liked or what he thought was interesting. And I got to go through these books and sort of have this final conversation with my dad about watches, because all these Post-it notes in his writing were left behind, which I had not noticed when I packed them in the box. So it was obviously, like a kind of nice moment. And I guess I got interested because he was interested, and I was curious to know what was my dad interested in, because it was sort of unlike him. And one thing led to another, and blah, blah, blah. And,
the rest is history.
There you go.
So Todd, before your dad obviously bequeathed you the Campanola, you weren't into watches at all? You never owned a watch yourself?
Oh, I mean, when I was a little boy, my mom bought me a watch. The only watch I'd ever bought myself was like years before that. I was out one night with a friend of mine, Julian, who's an artist, and he had, you know what I'm talking about, guys, the classic Pulsar.
Yes.
P2, the so-called astronaut model, which is the James Bond wore, and kind of thing. And I thought, and his didn't work though. He was just wearing it like as a design piece, And I thought, that's so cool. I wonder if you could find a working one. And then I did some research and I found out, you can find working Pulsars. You can even find new old stock ones. And what had happened is that the batteries that used to fit the Pulsars, which were larger, were not made anymore. And now they made spacers, very much like this VC that we had been looking at.
Yep.
They made spacers, which then accepted a smaller and more efficient battery. And there was like one guy in the Midwest who like specialized in this, like in Cleveland or something of all places. So I contacted this guy and I said, like, can you, is this work you do? He said, yes, I do it all the time. I do it for people all over the world. And I said, so if I want to buy a Pulsar, and he said, well, here are some dealer names. He said, I'm not a dealer. I have this little, sort of, industry that I fix these watches. And he specialized in digital LED watches from the 70s and 80s. And so I contacted a dealer. They had a new old stock astronaut Pulsar P2. It was in working condition, but it had not even it had the little magnet with it. It had not, though, had the new spacers put in. So I had them send it to this guy. He took out the old batteries. He cleaned it all out, made sure it was perfect, put in the spacers. And I had a working Pulsar for a couple of years, and it was really fun. It was just like people loved it. It was like a conversation piece. Everybody loved that watch.
Cool.
And that was like the only watch I had, but it was just because it was like a goof. It wasn't because I appreciated watches, really, per se. So yeah, not really.
You know what's really funny, Todd? You're talking about this, and I remember I was a little kid, and my uncle had the exact same watch, and I used to come near him. He used to be my cool uncle because he had the watch from James Bond, and that Pulsar thing. I used to sit down next to him and look at it. I love that watch.
My uncle Bob had one of these too, and I had remembered it from when I was a little boy. So it's exactly the same thing. And I'm like, Uncle Bob, can I press your watch? Can I press your watch? It's like one of those funny things, that sticks with you. And so then when I saw this on my friend's wrist, I was like, oh, that's that watch. I'd sort of forgotten about the whole thing. And that's how that all wound up. But yeah, I really wasn't a watch person before.
I just want to hit a couple of your questions. We'll come back to this topic. We got Grindel62 asking thoughts on this Aqua Terra. I love it. I would just get on the bracelet personally. Get it on the bracelet because it's just better.
Yeah, agreed.
And it's cheaper to buy the bracelet first and then buy the strap rather than the strap and then try and buy the bracelet.
Yeah, good point.
Here's a great question from Fish and Chips saying, Watch Cardinal, ask everyone if you could only own one watch, money, no object, what would you choose? Ooh, that's a good question. Let's go around the panel. Todd, you're up first.
Shit.
Okay, we could skip.
I'll go with, it's fine. Probably change my mind 10 times. But I'll probably go with, if I could only own one watch, it's got to be a wristwatch. I'll assume we'll stick with wristwatches and not pocket watches like the George Daniel Space Traveler or something like that. It would probably be a stainless steel Patek 2499.
Wow.
Okay. That's a good pick. Geez, how do you follow that up? See, so I've been saying, right?
It doesn't have to be expensive, but I mean, if only one watch, no price, no object.
Right, no sentimentality attached
that's
to
probably a $10, $15 million watch now. That's why I, wouldn't own it.
So for me, listen, as much as I love Carrie, you know what I mean? I love Carrie Voudeline. It's probably my favorite independent watchmaker. Mm-hmm. But Matt, there's just something about the black label Journe, and in particular, the Chronomet Optimum.
You got my watch, man.
Cars and Chrono, one of the viewers of the channel, he has that particular watch. Let me pull it up.
Can you put a picture up?
Yeah, let me put up the Patek 2499 first in steel.
I don't even know if a picture exists. It's really a unicorn.
Right.
Maybe you can find a 1518 in stainless. I don't even know.
It'll probably be in platinum, to be fair. Like, this is the platinum version of it. So there's one in steel, right? But yeah, they're extremely rare. So the one that I'm talking about is the FP Chronomet Optimum.
Black label.
Black. It's got to be black label. So black label is their private line, right? So they make 2 of these watches per year, per model, right? And this is the one. I just love that contrast of that black dial. Oh shit, we have super chats. Okay, I just want to answer this. I love the contrast of those white kind of sub dials and that black dial. And this is the watch that Journe actually made for himself. So he had a client ask him, out of all your watches, which one would you have for yourself? Well, he's like, I haven't really made that watch yet. And so he made this watch specifically for himself. So it has a remotoir d'égalité, which is a constant force device to help basically improve accuracy in the watch without getting into the mechanics or specifics of it. And I just think it's gorgeous.
Wow, that's really beautiful.
All right, let's go. Wristwatch Jesus.
Totally, yeah.
So I would choose the Vacheron historic double split, the new one.
Oh, you're talking about the Patrimonio double split?
Yeah, Patrimonio. Or is it traditional?
This one right here?
Yeah, traditional double split. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, this is incredible. And the movement on this is just spectacular. It's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, you want to talk about the depth of the Lange movements? This is every bit as good.
That's incredible looking.
Yeah. All righty. Next is the watch guy. Go ahead, man.
Well, look, I'm not gonna pick the dollar wise. If I have to pick a watch, only one watch I can use for everything, and I like a little bit the bling. So the 559.90 that would
Got
be
it.
my pick if I have to use it. Pat, yeah,
We're talking
if I
about
have to use
rose
it for
gold, right?
everything, that would be my pick.
Not the steel, right? The rose gold.
Sports, not the steel, the gold. Yeah.
All right,
If I have to
respect.
go with one watch and that's it, that would be my watch.
Nice.
And then we got Stefano. What is your
You
pick?
you picked my watch already, man.
Jordan Chronomet Optimum. Okay, I like
Definite.
it.
With a white band though, not with black.
Yeah, it's got to be
white
the
leather
white band. Right.
Yes.
I will pull up a picture of that after. And then Solus Art, last but not least.
I would choose the Pepsi, Rolex Pepsi,
Okay.
for one watch. If I only have one watch, I need a watch that I can wear every day.
I just want to hit this because we did get a very nice super chat from Rez. So I just want to get this and answer his question. What's your thoughts on the Patek Pagoda? I don't know much about this model, to be honest with you. Very Art Deco style. Not my favorite, if I'm going to be honest.
Well, the Pagoda came first, and they did the Gondolo that came close to this, but this is very Deco of the 20s and 30s, though, for sure.
Right. Yeah, I would probably go. Listen, if you're asking me, Rez, I think the Patek 5124, I believe, is the reference G. This is the one, the salmon dial gondolo. This is the one. I think
Yeah,
this
this is
beautiful,
much
yeah.
better.
They
to
also
me.
make this in a tourbillon.
That's the one
I would vote for this one. That's a great one. Yeah.
Yeah, the tourbillon one is really great. I'm not a fan of Breguet numerals myself, but
Beautiful.
nice.
That's fair. I just want to get through these super chats very quickly. We got Michael M with a $20 saying thoughts and opinion on the VC56 family, as well as the Patrimonio and Traditional. Maybe top picks in each group. Thanks, Marco and team. This is a great question. I guess we can go around the panel. Todd, do you want to begin, or should I?
Yeah, I mean, I have mixed thoughts about the 56 family. I like the patrimony things. I think there's some really great things in there. The traditional I'm less enamored with, but I think that some of the patrimony pieces are really nice. Like the one we just saw as an example. The
Right.
double split. I mean,
That's actually a Traditional. It's not a Patrimonio.
is it? Okay, but that's a particularly beautiful example.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mostly prefer the Patrimony. They're more, traditional dress watches. The Traditional, I like it. I'm not the biggest fan of it, and the 56 is probably my least favorite personally.
Yeah.
It's like Vacheron trying to be hip and trendy. If I'm being honest, it's like a hippie Vacheron. It's like them trying to appeal to the masses with a model like the 56, and it's not my favorite. But we can continue. Wristwatch Jesus.
Yeah, actually, I like the 56. I don't hate it. Like, you hear some people spitting on it, but I think it's a very good collection. Actually, I prefer the Traditional. The simple Traditional with the guillochage that you pulled up at the start of the stream. That is one of my favorites.
Yeah, those
And
are really nice.
in a smaller size, like maybe 36, that would be a perfect watch.
Mm.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, Solus.
Yeah, I'm completely the same. I think it's nice. It's not my favorite. I have your favorite here, Marco, the Turnograph.
Oh, nice. That's the Telegraph. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. Listen, it's interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, it's weird.
But this is BC. This is Rolex. We're talking Rolex.
I was going to take this with me traveling. I'm still going to take it with me traveling tomorrow. Please,
Nice.
God, I can do it.
And for yourself, watch guy.
Well, if I have to pick one, the 56 is not my top pick, but I would choose the stainless steel blue dial. One of them is actually very appealing. Millimeter. It's a date, and for a daily wear, it's something that I would pick.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so I think I'm with you on the 56. I think I would probably go either the simple one, which I hate to be honest with you, but I'd probably go the triple day just because to me it's like that's more real Vacheron. Patrimony, I just go with the 38 mil rose gold case with the boutique dial, so that guilloche dial we pulled up earlier, and then Traditional. I mean, they have some great Traditional chronographs. I probably would go in that range. This way, you get a little bit of each. One simple, like just manual wind, one kind of complication, and one chronograph. But Michael, I hope that answers your question. Thank you very much for the $20 super chat. We got AC Morgan with the $5 saying, "Good night, all. Thank you for the stimulating conversation. Love getting stimulated by someone other than myself." Oh boy, AC Morgan. Thank you very much for the $5 super chat. That's greatly appreciated. And last but not least, we got the man himself, Stefano Della Costa, with the $28 saying, "Old soul, thank you for making my day." Thank you for the super chat, man. That's greatly appreciated.
Marco, may I say something?
Sure,
I
absolutely.
was watching earlier. Actually, I'm on the transaction right now. I'm working on the transaction, so I thought I'd jump in and say hello to you guys, knowing that you have a great panel, one of the great industry this evening. So when I saw Stefano on the panel, I wanted to jump in and salute him and wish recovery. A member in the community, the watch community. The guy is at the hospital, and he is joining to contribute and give us a little bit of his experience. So salute to Stefano. I want to tell you, my friend, that I appreciate you so much, and you, my opinion, and hopefully we'll see you recovered and full shape very soon.
From your mouth to God's ear, thank you.
I have to agree. Like, my favorite person to watch on YouTube is Stefano. I love when he comes on all of the live streams. I just find him so interesting, and he's just so great to listen to. He's such a cool guy. So
thank you so much.
I hope you get well
That's
too,
very
Stefano.
kind of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No question about it. Like we said, man, he's gonna be more than alive and kicking. He's gonna be pushing us in the ass after Friday, being like, "Where are you guys? Let's go. I'm bored at home, sitting at home doing nothing." But Stefano, thank you very much for the super chat. We got Woody Jag, my man, with the £4.50, saying best wishes to Stefano for Friday.
Thank you so much.
He's gonna do great. He's gonna get through this, no question about it. Now, I guess my next question, I guess we can go around the panel. Well, actually, first, let me ask the watch guy, because we had an interesting discussion yesterday on a very polarizing watch, shall we call it, which is the, oh geez, I'm forgetting the name already. It's the
Aventi. The Aventi.
The Aventi tourbillons.
Oh, I missed that. Wow.
Yeah, you missed that. So the watch guy is actually going to be buying a couple of Aventi. Todd, we need to get your perspective. Is Aventi let's just get your take, your feedback on Aventi watches.
Well, look, depends. Like, if you have a certain amount of money to spend and that's what you want to spend, it's great. And I'm not even going to talk about its obvious sort of design relationship to other watchmakers or whatever. I just think, if you're going to slap something on your wrist that's 55 by 48 by 13 millimeters, approximately, I think you're fundamentally doing that because you're trying in one way or another to attract attention of other people, kind of thing. And I don't know what that really says necessarily about the watch. I think it says more about the person who would want to wear. I'm curious to know more about the person who would want to wear such a thing. That's kind of what I'm curious about.
Producer Michael, he's wearing it because he got the free ones, and he's promoting it for them now.
Well, that's fine. If you decide you want to promote something and you get free stuff, that's up to you. But I mean, look, I think what did they started off around what, $2,800? Is that about right? Roughly ballpark.
Yes.
And now some of them are selling for $7,000, $8,000, $7,500, $8,500, like
$10,000 for the sapphire piece.
Okay. So let's do full Monty and say 10,000. is that the watch if you have $10,000?
No.
Is that even like with the Chinese movement?
Yes.
And it's made in China isn't necessarily a bad thing, but and I don't want people to start, hashtag, whatever. But I'm just saying, is that where you're going to spend your $10,000? And
Definitely not.
It's more about flexing. To me,
Yes.
somebody who's going to wear that watch, it's more about the flex. That's what they're paying for, is the flex.
You're right.
Well, I think anybody who wears that watch trying to look like they're wearing a Richard Mille, but I mean,
Yeah, but far from it.
it's ridiculous.
Far from it in design, far from it from movement, far from it from quality.
But it's very expensive. But
there's one guy in Dallas, Vegas. I think he's from Video Bob on YouTube, and he mostly releases videos about cars, but sometimes he does watch videos. And he just did a video like 2 days ago or something about the Aventi, and he said he pre-ordered one, and he's been emailing them. He pre-ordered it like a year ago, and he's been emailing them about it. And every time he emails them, they come back and say, "Oh, something didn't go right, and the sapphire didn't. Something is wrong with the watch." So he paid for it a year ago, and he hasn't received it. So
well, I don't know about that, but let me tell you something. I ordered 2 of them, okay, and I think that's why we're having this conversation, because Marco wanted to bring it back. Let me explain to you the rationale, okay? There's all kinds of Chinese movements out there in the market. There's all kinds of watches that want to be in the market. And I've been monitoring this company for over 2 years right now. And I've been looking exactly at every move they've been doing since they started. Let's close the bracket on my comment right now and extrapolate and look at what Richard Mille did. I'm very interested in the marketing aspect of watches as much as I'm interested in the artistic. It's an art to me. I'm not a typical collector that's going to start from the movement and start taking a decision about a watch based on just the movement itself, whether it's legit Swiss, if it's certified Swiss, and that kind of stuff. I like to collect art. I like to collect things that I like and I enjoy. And when I look at Richard Mille, tomorrow morning, if I get one retail, some of the Richard Mille, I would buy them today at a retail price. But you tell me a watch I can buy at the store for, hypothetically, this is a fortune for a lot of people. Let's say give or take $80,000. And that same watch in the gray market right now trades at, let's say, $500,000 with that crazy stuff is going on. I'm never going to calculation and spend it on a watch that's really in the gray market for that price. This is never going to happen for me in particular. I don't want to go and flash that watch and say, look, I can buy it for $500,000. This is not my gig. But when I look at the Aventi, what they're doing, these guys, I studied their management style and what they're trying to do with the brand itself. If you take the movement and you say this is a Chinese movement, and all of us were very knowledgeable of different types of movements, and what that separates an excellent movement from an ordinary movement is really the manufacturing process, to be detail oriented on how you manufacture it, how you put it together, and at the end of the day, how you end up regulating the watch itself and the effort that you put in regulating the movement and make it accurate, etc. So if you manufacture it in China, is usually bad reputation, because what these guys did, they took the technology from a Swiss movement and they really put a lot of effort around the movement to create a product that is high quality. So they reject a great level of the manufacturing if they don't feel that it meets the standards that they want. And if you want to order one today, you can't just order it. You have to go through a very stringent process where they have to meet with you, make sure that they vet you properly. And they end up want to sell you the watch because they want you part of the family. And now what they did on the top of that, it's true they started with the Chinese movement. They went to Switzerland and they hired the guy that built the first RM movement. He's the one that built the first Richard Mille movement, and they hired him and they put a team around him and they designed and manufactured a Swiss tourbillon movement in Switzerland that's going to go into their new model. And that new model they're building is going to be shock absorbent from all different angles, similar to what Richard Mille watch does, and it's going to be under $10,000. You're getting a skull. You know, people like that stuff, right? So you're getting a sapphire watch with the tourbillon movement, with the crazy design that appeals to a lot of people, right? Probably doesn't appeal to some of the panelists here. And it's highly built, and you get a lot of value for under $10,000. So you compare it to something that exists today that you can, if you want to buy, you're going to spend $500,000 for. You know, at the end of the day, as a collector, and sometimes if I want to buy a big watch, like a lot of people wear G-Shocks. You know, I have many G-Shocks, Mudmaster, Mud this, Mud that. I use them for sport, and they're huge on the wrist. I don't want to flash. They look great. And some people buy the G-Shock with all kinds of colors on it, right? And it's like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. So it doesn't mean it says something about the guy wearing it. It says, I feel like wearing a crazy watch. So to me, it's all about arts, all about what the watch is I'm feeling when I put it on my wrist, and at the same time, what value I'm getting, and what the company is doing. So if you want to buy that watch, you're not going to sell it to you. They want to make sure that you have a history with them, and they're being open in the way they're communicating that to the industry. Because look what's happening with Rolex. I own many Rolexes. I own many different watches, and I'm not here to talk about it, but I do own Pateks and APs and that kind of stuff. But the hypocrisy in the industry today, go buy a watch from a retailer. You know what you have to do? You have to spend, you have to with the AD. They have to like you until they start calling you for the steel pieces and the rare pieces. These guys are saying,
oh no, we're losing him.
They're part of the family, will offer you the pieces that they're going to be hot in the market.
Listen,
so that's my take about AP.
You haven't sold me, man. I'm sorry. I can't like Aventi even if I try. You know this.
I'd like to kind of respond.
We're talking about Aventi. You need to check out this guy, Video Bob's I think he put the video up 2 days ago or something. It's really good. And he's waiting like a year for his watch, and they keep saying something's gone wrong with the bezel, or something's gone wrong with the case or the movement, and he's paid money and he's waiting, and they keep sending them excuses. It's a really good video. All of his videos are really
You know
good.
what? Send me the video, because I know the owners. I got to know the owners. I talked to the owners. And I'm positive that the owners will be happy to talk to this guy and fix it. As a matter of fact,
oh no, he's really like.
When I received my sapphire, and unbox it on. Yeah, and probably one of the owners would love to come and unbox it with me. I can make that happen.
Yeah. But anyways, let's move on from Aventi.
He's like fun.
Well, I'd like to, respond, because I think that this is a super interesting discussion, actually. To a certain extent, this reminds me, I'm trying to think of a living artist who's got some popularity, in general terms. And the only artist I can think of, and I don't know if you all know him, but Cause. Have any of you guys seen Cause?
Yeah, I have a lot of Cause stuff here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so Cause you can go into the gallery if you have a relationship with the gallery, and you can buy a Cause work for $100,000. Now that same work on the secondary market might be $1 million. And if you can't afford, because you don't have a relationship with the gallery, and you don't want to pay, have $1 million, you could buy an artist who makes work that looks a lot like Cause for $10,000.
Wow.
yeah, sure, there are plenty of artists who basically copy the look, and it has the same sort of look. And it's it's a painting, the same way that the painting that you'd buy in the gallery for 100,000 that sells for maybe $1 million, like the way a Richard Mille, you would go into Mille and buy it for 80 and it could sell for 800, but you could buy the Aventi for 8,000. It's the same way, like you could buy the cause for 100, it might sell for $1 million, but you can find somebody who makes work that looks very much like that, who's new, and it really looks like cause for all intent and purposes. Now it's not cause, but it looks like it, for $10,000. And this is kind of like the same sort of dynamic. I mean, I think that there's an entry point for everybody at every price point. And the reality that there are just, unlike Watch Guy, like there are just some people who can't even afford a Richard Mille. Like they can't afford the 80,000. That's just not even in their ballpark. Even if they got offered one at retail, that's like a non-starter for them altogether. So if they want something that has the feel, the general feel, the gestalt of our Richard Mille, the Aventi at 8,000 is the only way that they can go because they don't have any other option from a financial point of view. But I think by the same token, I think we have to at least be fair-minded about it and say that it doesn't carry the same elegance or sophistication or authenticity of a Mille. But what it does is it gets somebody who wants to participate with a Mille. It gets them most of the way there so that they can do that at a level where they don't feel, threatened, or they're not allowed to be a participant. And so for that point, I think something like Aventi is a good thing because it allows people to not feel threatened and to potentially to be able to participate. And I think that that's a really good thing. But I think when we're talking about the watch in and of itself, aside from that component of it, I just think that these were some really smart people who put together a formula to kind of make, and I hate to use this term, but a poor man's Richard Mille, fundamentally. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. It's the only term I can think of that describes accurately what I'm getting at. And, it was very clever. And I think, that they're going to be actually quite successful with this because I think that there is a big market from a lot of people, particularly in the flexing that you see on social media. Mille is like probably the super flexer of all watchmakers on social media. I think that they have it better than anybody else. The movie stars, the rappers, the musicians, even, and I know you guys will laugh, but I mean, like even Anthony Ferrar, like on TPG, or you see Roman Sharp on Gray Market or like whatever, like they're all flexing with Richard Milles. Like that is the ultimate flex capacitator of a watch. So I think that this was like really, really smart. So from the marketing point of view, particularly that Watch Guy's talking about, I think that this was, sheer brilliance.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So I'm trying to balance it as best as I can,
No, listen, I think it's definitely fair, right? Like people will buy prints of artworks that they like all the time because the originals just are totally unreachable.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who'd like to own a Warhol or fill in the blank of your favorite artist. It doesn't matter who it is, but they're not going to be able to own a painting, but they might be able to own a print. And it, and at least that's by the artist. For those people who can't afford that, they would buy a poster of the work, the reproduction of the work. And this is essentially more like that.
I kind of understand what you mean, but like if you what you're using cause like an example there, and then you're saying like you buy art that looks like cause, well, that's not good. I mean, if you buy a print, okay, or if you buy something that's a bit cheaper because that's okay. But if you buy something that looks like it's not okay. You know what I mean? It's like if you buy something, or if there's an artist or a watch that's famous, and the watch is very expensive, and something that looks like it. I don't know. I mean, but if you buy their entry level watch, maybe it's better than buying something that's copying it.
Yeah, there's just
so let's put a different analogy here. Let's put a different analogy here.
$3,000 doesn't exist. If it did, that would be kind of neat. Or if there was an entry-level Richard Mille at 12,000 or even 15,000 or 20,000, that would be great. But I correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that exists.
It doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, right? So like that opportunity is like removed from people who want to participate. And why should they be removed completely and totally from being able to participate in a kind of aesthetic, that they would like to be involved with? So I think everybody should have an entry point.
Guys, I have to pull this up because I'm French, right? So it's hilarious when you guys pronounce Richard Mille in English, right? You call it Richard Meal, so it's like a happy meal.
Oh, Richard Meal.
It's just funny, and then it's like, imagine if a guy named Richard started going by Richard. Well, in French, it's technically
Richard, is it not?
In French, it's Richard.
Yeah.
Except that I explained this. When you speak French, you roll the R like at the back of your throat, so it's Richard.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Instead of Richard, R. Like English is very much like Spanish, right? You roll your R with your tongue, kind of thing, right? That's the idea.
Okay. So,
but there are homages that look exactly like a Richard Mille for between $600 and $900. So you don't have to go to Aventi that doesn't even really look like any RM, but they might have a better movement.
You got a good point here, Stefano. So let's go back and make your analysis let's bring the analysis to the bottom line. You have a tourbillon watch, Swiss manufactured. You have a sapphire case. You have a design that some people like, some people dislike, but let's go with the people that they like.
Right.
And put all that together, manufactured in a high quality, high standard, it's its own club, and you love it. Would you rather pay $10,000 for it, or you want to pay $500,000 for it? I personally don't want to pay $500,000 for it. I love it. It's a tourbillon. It's Swiss, made in Switzerland, designed by the same guy who built the first RM. It's G-Shock completely from all angles. I can do my sports with it. And look, I want to flex with it. I want to wear it on the weekend. I want to do whatever I want with it. It looks like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a McLaren. It doesn't look like an RM. I'm not copying. So it's its own brand. So I'd rather be smart and spend less than $1,000, get all that, than spend $500,000. For $500,000, I'd rather get another watch.
Fair enough. And I think that's a very sensible,
No, he doesn't.
I don't work for Aventi. I don't.
No, I just think you get a lot of bang for your buck, for the 10,000. And if you had the $500,000 or the 80,000, even if you could buy it at the primary retail price, I'm guessing you'd probably be elsewhere in your head for that amount of money.
Exactly.
Realistically.
And I can show you 10 different watches that they're worth $10,000. They all look the same.
But I think it's also lost on some people. Like for example, for the watch, right? You're not buying it as a necessarily like serious. You're having fun in the watch hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that. I bought a Ming purposely for that, right? Yeah. I bought a Ming because I want to have just a bit of fun, something different in the collection, something unique, and that's what watch collecting is about. Listen, if you only buy knockout Rolex and Patek and AP that social media dictates is cool and popular and everybody should own, like, to me, there's a real lack of soul in your collection, right? And that's what I like to see in a collection personally, right? I'm just going to be honest, is somebody who experiments a little bit, right? Who goes on a real journey, a collection journey. Because if all you're buying is just what social media or what the experts, quote unquote, tell you to buy, you're not really collecting for yourself. You're collecting for other people. Like Solasard, Nico hates your turnograph, right? But you love it, and you're still going to keep it, and you're going to enjoy it. And
I love it. It's like, I never even wear it. I just love looking at it.
We got Mr. GMT with the $5. Thank you very much, my man. He says, God bless the wizard. Awesome to see you back on the stream, my brother. I appreciate that, Mr. GMT. But guys, on that note, I think I am going to wrap up the show. We've been going for 2 hours. I'm a little bit tired. I had a big day today, and I'm just not up for another hour. Otherwise, I know you guys are going to keep me on here for another 4. But I appreciate you guys coming on. I appreciate Dr. Levin, or Todd, as he likes to be referred to. I appreciate the wristwatch Jesus, Solisar, the watch guy, and last and most importantly, the watch wizard, man. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you, and listen, we're wishing you well. The community's pulling for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Alrighty, take care, everybody.
Have a good
We
evening.
love you.
And of course, as always, guys, you got to wear your watches. That's what it's all about.